the Acoustics 5000 series. So Acoustics, you're probably very familiar with the fact they have their Concept series. Their Concept 500, 300 are their flagship. Concept 30, 50, 90 would be a little bit of a step down. And then the 3000i, which you'll find direct online. It was a speaker that's really designed direct to consumer. But in between those, this is a world premiere for the 5000 series. So it takes a lot of the technology from the Concept series and trickles it down. One of the unique things about this line is going to be the way that the drivers are done. So it's a no dust cap. It's designed specifically to make sure that it maintains its shape and rigidity with high excursion, so you can get very good bass response. So there'll be 2 floor standers, 2 different stand mounts, and a center as well, so if you want to do any kind of home theater. These are the 5040s that we're demonstrating. This is the smaller of the floor standers, and they roll off probably around 45 hertz. So for a speaker that size with drivers that small, that's quite impressive, and we can give you a demo and you can hear how nice the bass is. Speaking of home theater, very quickly, if you take one of these speakers, you notice you have mounting points here. And let me slowly rotate to the back. The terminals are very close and flush to the back, so you can actually get these very close to the wall. Obviously they take bananas, but you can unscrew it, slide some cable right in there, keep them nice and close, and they come with a bung so they don't get boomy if you have them right up next to the wall. And again, world premiere of the 5000 series. Note. So if you're not familiar with Soul Note is our one Japanese brand. This is the A1, this is their entry-level integrated amplifier, runs about $4,000. We have their D1 digital analog converter. One thing I will say about Soul Note is the design philosophy is very different than what we're used to. So we're very used to technical specifications, how many watts per channel, what DAC are you using, what's the configuration. The way Soul Note is done is it's all about, there's a target sound. So you listen and make changes, and once you get to the sound that you want, then you figure out what the specifications are. So you are not designing to a spec, you're designing to a sound. So it's all about getting the soul back into the music. All right, fantastic. Hey, let's talk about another room. No world premieres in this one. However, well, I suppose we could say a US premiere. We have not shown the Pearlescent S7Ts in natural walnut finish until this show. If you're not familiar with Pearlescent, so they've been around for a little bit of time. The cool thing about Pearlescent is their DPC array and the way they do passive beamforming. So they can give you a wide dispersion and they can control the dispersion this way. So, layman's terms, you don't have to worry about sound treatment on the ceiling and the floor. Just took out 2 of the 6 walls you have to worry about. So it does make them a little bit easier to place in a room. Fantastic. This is the flagship piece. They do multiple sizes. They even do in-walls now. We don't have the subwoofers in this room. I'll take you next door where we do have some of the subwoofers. But in this room, we're using an AudioFlight integrated amplifier. Nice thing about AudioFlight is you can get this. This is their flagship integrated. It's about $13,000 with no DAC, no phono stage, but you can add a DAC, you can add a phono stage, and it's just a plate on the back, 2 screws, pull it off, throw it in. It doesn't have to be done by the dealer, doesn't have to be done by servicers, it can be done by the consumer, so it's super easy. You just want to unplug it before you change it out, just a hint. And then also, I like to call this is our Michel Gyro. So this is an iconic turntable. Michel's been a family-owned little UK company since 1968. We can barely keep these things in stock because it's a fantastic turntable and it's absolutely iconic. Welcome to my third room. Another room with Pearlescent, but also we are now the distributor for Gold Note. So this is brand new for us. Since I'm talking about it, let's talk about Gold Note. So the speakers, we're powering them with the Gold Note IS 1000 Mark II Deluxe. So this is kind of an all-in-one unit. It is an integrated amplifier, has a streamer built in, so if you just want one product, that's what you use. We are actually using the matching amplifier, so we're pre-out from the integrated to that amplifier. That's the PA1275, if I remember correctly. So they do make full-size components. So you can see those. They make a full line of turntables as well. They make furniture, they make speakers, they make decks, they make phono preamp stages. So it is one brand where you can get an entire system soup to nuts. But as you can see, we're using them with some Pearlescent speakers, so they play very nicely with other brands as well. So you have your options. Now the full line, or the full-sized Gold Note is one system they carry. There's another half-width size product. We'll start with this guy right here. So this is the DS10 Evo. So this is a DAC streamer preamp. So one small box, lots of cool stuff that it does. Plenty of inputs and outputs, balanced and standard RCA. Now you need to power this. So you go to a matching amplifier, the PA10. So the PA10 can be stereo, or as an upgrade path, you can get another one and you can run them in mono. So if you have a little bit harder to run speaker, or if you just want a little bit more oomph, you can do that. We also have phono preamp stages. You can also do upgrades not just by adding extra amplifiers, but you can add external power supplies. So there's a full way of going from a basic system to a full-blown system. You can improve your sound quality as you go. So that's something kind of cool and unique with Gold Note. Now, with this room, we're also doing Pearlescent, but this is the R series. So we were just in the flagship S series room, and those, of course, their flagship product. The R series, about half the price, but still using that same technology with passive beamforming. So they're still easy to place in a room. You are limited as far as fit and finish. They only come in black or white. They do have a little bit less dynamic range, a little bit less output, maybe a little bit less frequency response because they're using slightly different driver materials. Rather than beryllium and Textreme, which is carbon fiber, we're now using soft dome tweeters and mid-ranges and a wood pulp bamboo composite material drivers. So if I remember all of the different materials correctly. And I mentioned earlier I was going to threaten you with subwoofers. We have the Pearlescent subwoofers. So this is the R series subwoofer. This is the R210. Means it has two 10-inch woofers. So you can see the one on the front. That's facing forward. There's another one underneath facing up. So we have these tuned right now, so they blend perfectly with the Pearlescent speakers. So when we play some music, it won't sound like there's subs in here. If we wanted to make it sound like there's subs and rock the house, these would be perfectly capable of doing that as well. But that's just the way we've set them up in this room. What room are we on? We're on room
1233.
No, what room am I on with this press junket? It's room 5. Something like that.
It's still room 1233.
It is still room 1233 here. All right, fantastic. So in this room, I have Cyrus Electronics, which is the first brand that Fidelity Imports actually brought in. So I'll start talking about Cyrus first, and then we'll move on to the acoustic energy speakers, which is another relatively new line for us. So you wanted to know about, things that we were showing that haven't been seen before, world premieres. So I'm going to have Nick from Cyrus hand me what I'm looking for. It's actually this product right here. This is the Cyrus Streamer XR, or Cyrus Stream XR. So what they've done is they've taken Blue OS and made it sound good.
Oh!
So everyone's basically familiar with how to use Blue OS. That's why they chose to work with them, because it is a really great product. But it is that's basically a $500 streamer. There's a limitation at what you can do as far as sound quality at that price point. So what Cyrus does is they will take that and then they put their own technology to it. Cyrus is well known for doing DA conversion and obviously amplification, and they make CD players, and their phono preamp is always highly regarded as well. So they make a full line of product. But new at the show is this guy right here. So I can't even sell you one. Well, I can probably sell you that one because I think I paid for it, but I think that's about the only one in the United States right now. They are coming. So we're very excited about this product. So now we have a couple lines with streamers. So very excited. Now, I mentioned that's called the XR. Cyrus makes two lines of product. So they make the XR, which is their flagship line, and then they make their Classic series. So you can see we have a mix of colors on the displays. The XR, the upper end product, has the blue lights, and then the Classic has the Classic green. So again, it's a UK company, and with Cyrus you can get integrated amplifiers, you can get preamplifiers, you can get standalone amplifiers that can be run in stereo or mono, or you can get mono amplifiers, or you can get power supplies. Now the power supplies, the way Cyrus does them is fairly unique. So they'll have one power supply for the Classic line, and you can plug that into an integrated amp. It will recognize, hey, that's an integrated amp, it knows what to do. If you take that power supply and plug it into a CD player, it goes, ah, that's a CD player, I know what to do. So an intelligent additional power supply. So it's again a way to upgrade your system. You can start with just an integrated amp and then add on amplifiers, add on power supplies, and grow your system that way. Okay. Now let's move on to the speakers, unless, Nick, I've forgotten to talk about anything.
Only the PSU XR is slightly different, but yeah.
So the PSU XR is slightly different, and you want to tell me why?
Because instead of just one power supply, it will replace up to 3 power supplies within the product. So, you know, and rather than just taking a single voltage and amplifying it, it has a communication channel between the source product and the power supply. And then it takes over, like I say, up to 3 sections of the thing. It can also operate in different modes. So something like a DAC would require a very stiff, stable power supply, whereas something like an amplifier, you might want to allow peak currents. So you'd then allow the voltage to sag a little bit to ensure you supply the current. So regulated and unregulated modes are available to you.
And that's why the XR line is a higher end and costs more. Now, let's talk about the speakers. With speakers, Acoustic Energy makes 3 levels of speakers. They make the 100 series, the Step Up 300 series, and the flagship 500 series. So with these speakers, each line has 2 floor standers and a stand mount. In the 300 and 100 series, you also can get center channels and subwoofers. The flagship right now is primarily geared towards 2-channel. So the flagship has all carbon fiber drivers, including the tweeter. You'll notice there's a whole bunch of small drivers, and by having all of these small drivers, as I step on my lights, you have the ability to move a lot of air. So you can get great bass response with that many drivers. The other thing cool about this line is the way the cabinets are made. They're made so they don't resonate. So in between 2 layers of MDF, there's a bituminous layer. I would call it Dynamat in the United States. So it keeps the cabinet very rigid, so you won't have the cabinet making any noise. So it's just music coming from the drivers themselves. When you step down to the 300 series, which we have right here, now you're moving to completely different driver materials. It's primarily aluminum, because the Brits are in the back, and if I say aluminum, they're going to jump down my throat. So again, 2 floor standers and stand mounts. And then the new, or relatively new 100 series, the 100 series Mark II, are these guys right here. Again, 2 floor standers, bookshelf, center, sub. But these guys right here, this is where it starts at $500. So Acoustic Energy goes from $500 retail to $5,000 retail. And price for performance, these are fantastic. All right, for the final room, this is probably one of our flagship rooms. The speakers are Diptyque. It is a French planar magnetic, so this is their reference. So these are about $50,000. At one point, when I'm done talking at you and boring you to tears, we are actually going to play these speakers for you, and you will hear a planar magnetic speaker that can actually make bass. So half the people come in here and ask where the subwoofer is. I assure you there is no subwoofer. It is just these speakers. Normally we demonstrate their DP 107s, which are much smaller. been getting great reviews on those. Those are much more reasonable. I think they're about $8,000 a pair. So the electronics driving them is AudioFlight. So you saw the AudioFlight integrated amp driving the Pearlescent S7, those flagship speakers. Now we have their reference system. So we have the preamplifier, we have a phono preamp stage, and their mono blocks. The mono blocks are only $30,000 each, but I think they're strong enough that you can weld with them. And on top, the grounding jewel, this is the flagship Michel Orb SE. So you already saw the Gyro SE in the other room.